Welcome to another episode of Manders Mindset. I'm your host, Amanda Russo, and I'm here today with Kristina Dion, a wonderful soul that I had the honor of meeting back in 2022 when I went to New Hampshire for an ayahuasca ceremony.
Hello, hello. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you for being here. So, Kristina and I are going to touch upon a lot of things today, a little bit about ayahuasca, breathwork, spirituality, manifestation, and things like that. So, we'll just get right into it. So, I'm curious, what made you first try ayahuasca? What called you to that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'm sure everyone kind of has a little bit of a different journey for themselves specifically. But I can tell you that for me personally, it was really funny when I decided to do ayahuasca. I think everyone was blown away who I let into the know because I have never done a single drug of any sort in my entire life. I tried marijuana when I was a child, and that was it. Like very, very, very little anything. And so, while this is plant medicine, of course, there's always that concept. People are like, you're going to do what? And I'm like, I know. And so now you know that I must have been very called to it to go so extreme, which I was. I've been on a spiritual journey for the past 10 years of my life, just kind of opening up. And in the past 7, I'd say I became a yes woman. So if a message of some sort came to me, I just said yes. Like, what's the worst that could happen? And if the worst that could happen is something I could live with, then I say yes to it, right? Meet a stranger. Sure, let's go do it. Switch jobs. Okay, here we go. Try ayahuasca. All right, let's do that. And ayahuasca came to me about 3.5 years ago. I was working with a doctor and she was going away to the Rhythmia Resort. And she was like, I want you to come with me. And I said, okay, great. And as I was signing up for it, I found out that there was another event that I had wanted to go to for the longest time that was going to be right in my backyard. Don't judge me. It was Tony Robbins. And I always wanted to go to one of his seminars, and he was going to be like right in the backyard. And I was like, at the exact same time, I was like, oh, this is a sign that this is not my time to go to ayahuasca. And so I went to Tony Robbins instead. Definitely don't regret it. It was great. Really propelled me into neuro-linguistic programming and all of that fun stuff. But then a couple years later, it kept kind of whispering in my ear. And I don't know if that resonates with you, the whisper of Aya, where it's like, it's your time. And like messages just were everywhere, right? Like it was like your Facebook, even though I hadn't talked about it. It was every research article. It was people who I'd met had just come from like an ayahuasca ceremony. And it was just so in my face that I was like, okay, I need to go. It's my time. And so for me, as a single woman who has never done any substance of any sort, I didn't know how my body was going to react. And I didn't feel called to go out of the country. I felt like I needed to be in the States. I wanted to be close to home. I'm a single mom of 2 kids. So there was definitely a little fear factor in that. And once I started researching local places, kept finding this one place and hearing a lot of great things about it. And I said, okay, this is it. This is my time. And I dove in.
I love that. And I love how you mentioned you started becoming a yes woman. Love that.
Yeah, I still
But
am.
Sorry, go ahead.
I still am. I'm the yes girl. Everyone says, like, do you just say yes to everything? I'm like, yeah, if the worst case scenario is something I can live with, I just go, yeah, sure. Why not?
I love that. You told me that at that retreat, and I noticed I started doing that more myself. If I can live with the worst case scenario, let's go for it.
Why
Let's
not?
go for it. Love that. Love that. So I also agree in terms of the fear factor. I had some nerves and anxiety going into it, and the thought of going out of the country, just more uncertainty in it. So the little safety net of being closer to home definitely resonates with me.
Yeah, I think now that I've worked with plant medicine and I feel much more comfortable with in general, like all the different types of plant medicines that are out there, I do see the sacredness of being closer to the plant's home and working with individuals who have worked with the medicine for a long extended period of time and are very like treat it very sacred. I think that there's a lot of research that needs to go into that. And a lot of these really publicized places, like maybe the one that I was originally going to go to out of the country, probably also is not the right place. So I think, it's funny, once you start getting into plant medicine, you really learn of these people who have existed for long periods of time that don't have websites, that are just hidden gems in the rainforest that you could go visit, that are just beautiful individuals, beautiful souls who can hold space. And if I were to do ayahuasca again, I think that's where you will find me, is deep in the jungle doing it.
I completely agree. I completely agree. You often don't see them marketing because they don't really need to.
Yeah. It's not part of it. It's not a career. It's not a lucrative aspect of it, right? It's purely about the medicine.
Yeah, definitely. So we also did Kambo at the ayahuasca ceremony, and you have recently become certified in that. So I'm curious if you can touch a little bit upon what Kambo is and how you went about getting certified.
Yeah, Kambo. If no one has experienced Kambo, I am telling you, this is magic. Absolute magic. Now, Amanda may have her own experience. I know, I remember you said like you were like dying during Kambo, right? I did not do Kambo when you did, but this past year I was called to it. It just was one of those things where I was like, I'm absolutely going to do this. And as I'm getting ready for it, I was so excited. Everyone else is leaving and they're like, you do realize what you're about to experience, right? Like you seem very excited to like be vomiting and pooing your brains out. And I was like, I am so excited. I don't know what it is, but I'm just so pumped right now. And I didn't know why. I was just like completely excited for this experience. I have no reason why, but I can tell you the moment that I did it, it was pure clarity why. And it was because I am to be a medicine carrier. So spiritually, the frog and I met and we became one and we are buddies. And it is my absolute favorite medicine. It's not a plant medicine. Kambo is from the Medusa tree frog from the Amazons. Big, beautiful tree frog. I grew up my entire life with tree frogs, interestingly enough. My whole childhood, I always had a tree frog. And every time they died, they got the same name. So it was just Gertrude that I had for years, even though he got replaced and he was different species and everything. It was Gertrude. Gertrude was my frog forever. And always had a thing for frogs, which is, I didn't even think about it until I became certified in it. Like, ooh, frogs. And I was like, oh my God, actually, I love frogs. I don't know why I say ew. And the Medusa tree frog is this beautiful big tree frog, and they call it ethically sourced. They call down the tree frog from the trees, and the tree frog lands on their hand, and they stretch his little back legs out. And when you do that, of course, he's going to have a little response like, hey, please don't do that to my body. And he has secretions that come out on his back, which is the Kambo, the medicine. So these secretions are filled with biopeptides that are readily available for your body. And the way that it's administered into your body is through your lymphatic system. So you go through a process where you have small gates put on the skin, which is a burn. I use incense. So you think of like if you were to touch an incense, just that superficial burn that you get, that 1st degree burn that just opens up that first layer of skin. And then the Kambo is like a resin. It gets placed on those, and within seconds, you feel the medicine like right away. It's like, whew, it's going into your body. And when it does that, what it's searching for is those peptides that already exist in your body. And it looks for, are they damaged? Are they missing? What's happening in your body? And if you sit with the medicine, you can feel where it needs to go. It's incredible. Now, I specialize in microdosing, which is a different experience than what you've experienced and many people have experienced with Kambo. Now, a full deep dive session with Kambo is usually 3 dots or more. So 3 little burns, 3 dots of resin, and your body will go through a full purge at that point. It is a beautiful way to reset the system for someone who maybe spiritually is going through something, emotionally has been going through something. If their body needs to detox from something, it is a great reset button. But with that, there's also a lot of risk factors from a health perspective. And because I have a biology background, I find that it's not always necessary unless somebody's really healthy and they want to do the spiritual aspect of it. And the microdosing is where you can safely deliver the medicine and get all of the benefits of the medicine without any health risk. Because what we found, and the reason I think I was called to Kambo, is that a lot of people have Lyme and mycotoxins, which is mold, in their cells that they don't realize are in there. And when you do something like this, it pops those open in your cells, and you can go through something what's called the Herx effect, which is where you get more sick rather than good. The beautiful thing about that is people find out, wow, I was really sick and I didn't even know it. I had this underlying condition, which was maybe causing my ADHD and my anxiety and depression, my autoimmune disorders, and they don't realize it. But I'd rather uncover that and help them heal in a much more slow paced approach. So I do single dot or half dots even on people, and we do multiple sessions. And with that, we get their body to the healthiest status that they can. It's something that I've been offering for if someone gets COVID or a cold, day one. I'm like a new age medicine woman, like walking in with my bag of frog, and coming in, giving them their little burn, and then they're ready to go back to work that day. They feel all better, which is just beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's been
Can
fun.
you, can you touch upon some of the other benefits besides
Yeah,
just cold or COVID?
yeah, absolutely. So it's an antiviral, antiparasitic, antifungal, anti-cancerous. And so with those biopeptides, if there's anything that doesn't belong in your body, it will immediately be purged from your body. And so the purging process, obviously, if you do 3 gates, you're going to go right up through purging, either through vomiting or through bowel movements. If you do microdosing, I give you NAC and I give you charcoal and milk thistle, just some liver detox, basically, some immune support, and charcoal to help absorb those toxins that get into the digestive system. And then you will have usually a little bit of a larger bowel movement later, and that those toxins will come out through that. You'll also be flushing it through water, exercise, all of that. And so everything that doesn't belong gets flushed out of the body. And then from a repair process, like we talked about, those biopeptides are also going to repair any damaged aspects of yourself. So if you have done, had maybe a history of substance abuse, for instance, and we have some damaged, even like neurological pathways, cell damage, it's going to do everything it can to help repair that as well. So you're getting to a much more biostable homeostasis of your body through this quick, natural approach. For anyone with IBS, it's a great way of kind of clearing out the bacterium that's building up in your body that doesn't belong, and the inflammation. My mom, for instance, has severe back issues. She's going to have to get a full back rod put in her back, and this has been for years. But I do microdosing on her once a month, and it manages her pain. So it brings her inflammation down. She used to get corticosteroid shots, and now she just does Kambo. So it's just a single dot of Kambo once a month is bringing all the inflammation and pain down. So it's really just this beautiful thing. Anyone with autoimmune disease is absolutely one of probably the best things they can do, because it's the unknown cause, right? That idiopathic cause. What's causing this? We don't know, but your body does. And Kambo is this incredible medicine that can just help support your own body system. It's really a fantastic medicine. Anyone who's experienced it with me is like, this is so cool. Like, a microdose allows you to slow down and really follow the process of the medicine and be like, why is it in my liver right now? Like, what's going on? And then they're like, okay, I got to slow down on the drinking. Like, I've obviously got some damage going on here. Or why is it in my brain? Like, that's really cool. Like, I've been feeling really a lot of brain fog lately. Like, I just can't knock this brain fog. And then they're like, afterwards, they have such brain clarity. It's not a hallucinogenic. Good to know, right? So this is purely health driven.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And I like how you mentioned it's not hallucinogenic, because they could even do it right before operating a car.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. I showed up at somebody's work. We did it in the parking lot of her office because she had a sinus infection and she was going to fly the next day and was super scared. And we did it. Her sinuses popped. It all drained out of her nose and she was good to go right afterwards. But we were laughing hysterically, like sitting in the parking lot, just doing a little burn on her. I was like, this is like such new agey, like medicine woman. Like, it's just hilarious. I love it.
That's so true. Doing a burn on her in the parking lot.
Yeah, and then I did Hape on her too afterwards. I was like, oh, and one last thing. Let me just blow some Hape up your nose real quick.
Wow, love that. Can you touch upon what hape is for anybody who doesn't know?
Absolutely. So rape or hape, I call it hape because it's easier. It's spelt like rape, R-A-P-E, but with an accent over the E. So a lot of times from an internet perspective, if you're searching it, A-P-E, hape is a way that you can find it. And this is an indigenous tobacco snuff, if you will. There's only a few tribes left that have the creation, the recipe that is a long-standing ancestral recipe that's been passed down. There's very minimal. There used to be tons, but there's only, I think, 3. Don't quote me on that, but I feel like there's only about 3 tribes left that truly have this left within their tribe. And what they do is those indigenous people, they take the tobacco leaves, but they take everything else around it to create this snuff. So you're talking the bark, the leaves, the soil. If there's a flower at the bottom of that plant, like whatever is there, it's like the earth of the plant goes with it into this snuff. And because of that, this snuff is a very sacred recipe that they then create. Some of them will add like cacao into it or mint. There's different things that get added into this, but they all have like this yin and yang, feminine and masculine property to them to create this beautiful blend. And these indigenous people put their blessings into it the entire time. It's a long process before it gets into our hands. And then with that, it's a snuff. It's not, your typical snuff where you might just snort it. It's something that you can use a caripe, which is a self-delivering, double-ended straw, if you will, or a tepe, which is where someone else delivers it to you with intention. And with that, you deliver it one side, each nostril, and lay with the medicine. And it is just super grounding. It's like when you can't focus and you need to just like bring yourself into clarity, boom, you're grounded. If you are about to meditate, I think you and I used to talk about this, like my brain will chatter, 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 chatter. And like, oh, I just need to like meditate for a minute. If you do hape first, it's like, boom, go ahead, Kristina, you can meditate. And it's like, what? Like, I don't have to shut my brain off first. You can go right into it. And I feel like for most of us, that's kind of what we need, right? Is as we're newer and getting used to the meditation process, it can help us just get right into it. It's beautiful.
Definitely. It definitely helps just grounding you and forgetting everything that is running around in our monkey brains and just sitting with ourselves in the present moment for a couple minutes.
Now, do you still practice with hape?
I do. Not as regularly as I used to, but I do.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Of course, it does have tobacco in it. So it's one of those things to really keep it sacred and to utilize it with the proper intention, right? It's not just like, oh my God, I need to calm down. Let me do this real quick. It's always with beautiful, clear intentions. And for anyone who's like, I just don't want tobacco, and you may not know this, there is a blend called Operina, Apurina, Operina. And Operina is tobacco-free rape or hape. And it's beautiful. It's green. I do it on my children and they love it. Those moments where they want to zen out with me, they want to meditate, we want to ground together. I deliver Operina to them. They deliver regular rape to me and we sit with it. And my daughter says, it's like I'm one with the earth, Mom, when she does it. Like she just feels so super grounded. It's really, really cool.
That's beautiful. How old is she?
She's 7.
I thought she was kind of young. That is beautiful that she's able to recognize that at such a young age.
Yeah, the first time I did this tiny amount because she kept begging me, and I was like, okay. And we were camping, and I did it, and like immediately, like I didn't tell her what it was going to feel like or anything. I was just like, let your experience be your experience, and you tell me afterwards. And immediately she goes, oh, it's like I am Mother Earth. I am one with the earth. I'm in the ground right now, Mom. And I was like, what? That's amazing. So it was beautiful, and now she just loves it. She's she's really good at delivering it to me too, although she can be a little aggressive sometimes with her blows into the tepe. So I have to remind her, let's be gentle. Let's be gentle. We're not blowing out any devils today. Like we're grounding. We're grounding.
That's so funny. I love that. That's awesome. So I want to switch tracks a little bit. Before we started recording, we were touching upon manifesting a little bit. And you mentioned how you've learned that you have to be very specific when manifesting. And I'm just curious if you can touch upon a little bit some stuff that you have recently manifested in your life, how you've gone about that and how it's worked for you.
Yeah. Manifesting, I feel like it's such a broad term, and there's so many ways, right? People have vision boards, if you will, and you have manifestation by creating a bubble and sending it out to the universe and blessing it, or you have very specific plans that you're like, I want XYZ to happen. What I found when it comes to manifesting is that there is no black and white plan that you can create, right? When you put these concepts out there, the universe is going to deliver it in a way that maybe you might even miss, right? Where it's like, this never happened for me. And I mean, I wish I could think of an example, but I know this has happened to me specifically, where it's like, I really, really wanted this to happen. And people are like, no, but it did. It just happened in a completely different way. And I would say, my newest one was, I used to log into my work computer, and I'll share my password now because I don't have it anymore, but it was June 2023 exclamation point was my password to my work computer. And that was me saying, I will no longer work here, right? Like I will just be doing my own business by June 2023. My business will be thriving. So I will not be with this company anymore. So I would just kind of was like, June 2023, I'll be done, I'll be done, I'll be done. And then June 2023 came along, and I was let go from the company. And it was like this, wait, why? I did say I want to be done June 2023, but I wanted to have like everything set up, and I wanted to have everything in alignment first. Like I wasn't really ready. And the universe basically was like, but you never would have done it. You never really would have done it. So if you're going to say this is when you're done, then just be done and trust that the rest will figure itself out. And so every day is a manifestation for me of trusting. The biggest thing is trusting that you are on the right path, really believing in yourself, believing in the actions that you take. And when you do that, it is consistently coming back to you. And it might look different every single time. But, being a single mom of 2 kids, people are like, aren't you worried? Like, aren't you worried to pay the bills? And I just have not been. I truly am trusting this process. And I'm like, I'm just not worried, because I know that I'm doing exactly what I'm meant to be here for. I'm here to help people be the most authentic version of themselves. And the medicines that I'm doing with Breathwork and Kambo help them to be those people. And what I need to do in the meantime to pay the bills will always figure itself out. And, just sticking with that for the most part as much as possible. But these manifestations, always have to have some sort of clarity, right? Of what direction are you going? It has to have trust. And it has to be, truly for yourself. Like you have to be consistently selfish, if you will. I tell people you have to be the most selfish person in the room at all times, because it is, you put your oxygen mask on first before you put it on others is incredibly important. So self-fulfilling prophecies is the most important thing that you can be doing and manifesting, so that the rest and everyone else in your legacy is all being set up properly.
That's very true. That's very true. And we touched upon a little bit how, before we started recording, about how you don't always realize that you're manifesting. When you spoke a lot about how June 2023, you wouldn't be there anymore. And you thought it would be you leaving. I had a similar situation. I was recently laid off from my job as well back in September. And that same week, I told my mom that I wouldn't be here by the end of the year.
And you
We
believe
were al- we were also relocating come October, and I did not want to move to the new location because I was going to be losing my office and getting a cubicle. And I told everybody, I'm not going to work in a cubicle. Well, I never got the opportunity to. And I think you had a very good point. Sometimes the universe realizes you're not going to take that step, but you put the manifestation out there and it's going to move the step for you.
yeah,
You
and
know,
it perfectly too. And the fact that we have to be careful, both you and I think, see the light in that, where it's like, this is truly what we wanted. But humans do have a negativity bias. We do consistently put out negative messages, right? Like, I'm not going to be able to pay my bills this month, like those types of things. And then you won't. It will manifest back in that way too. So there is this huge concept of the type of energy that you put out there. And when I say like fill your cup, put your oxygen mask on first, I mean also put that positivity, realistic positivity, right? Like not toxic positivity of like, I can do anything and I'm going to be a millionaire by next month, but realistic of I trust that I am an intelligent woman that people want to work with, and that whatever type of work that is going to align with me to help me pay my bills this month is going to come to me. I trust that fully. And I send it out there with such love and gratitude and appreciation to the universe for it to find its way back to me. And when you do that, that's when it comes back. And letting go of those negative thoughts and those fears and not letting them drive you. And that's where the beautiful medicine that you're doing and that I'm doing of breathwork can help you to release those negative thoughts and those things that can really hold you back from getting exactly what you're seeking.
yes, those limiting beliefs. Very true. And people have to be careful with that because not always, but often even the negative things that you speak out or even think become reality, you know? So you mentioned the modality breathwork that we both are doing. And I'm curious how you first discovered breathwork.
Yeah, so my first experience with breathwork was with you at our ayahuasca ceremony. So it was a different type. It was holotropic, but Aya was a beautiful grandmother medicine. There was beautiful messages from that. But when I went to ayahuasca, I truly believed that I knew I was probably 90% have let go and already worked on my shit, right? The bag of stuff that really needed to be worked on was done. It was taken care of. And what I wanted from Aya is I wanted like the deeper stuff. I was like, what's the stuff that I'm not seeing? Like, you've got to show me. And Aya was like, no, that's not what I do, which is true, right? She's much more grandmother, wise, intelligent, guidance. She's not no, here's the deepest, darkest corner of yourself that you've been ignoring. And I was like, oh, okay. But during holotropic breathwork is when it came out. And that's when I had this huge moment of saying I hated someone. And I'm like, I don't hate anyone. You got to be kidding me. Like, that's not my personality. Like, I've worked on all of my anger, all of my frustrations. Like, I don't hate anyone. And at the end of it, I was like, oh my gosh, I do. I actually do. And it is completely okay because it doesn't have to be a negative thing that we call these emotions positive and negative when they just can just be, right? Like, it's no, this is actually how you were treated and what happened to you in this moment. You have every right to feel this, and you need to stop ignoring that feeling, Kristina, and allow yourself to feel this. And I was like, oh, okay. And I felt it, and it was painful and rejuvenating at the same time. And I immediately said, this is medicine. This is where our brains get in the way. And being, someone who has a neurobiology, that's what I study all the time, is neurolinguistics and the brain and how we speak and communicate and think. This is what gets in the way. is we're superficial. We're always thinking through the ego. How are people going to perceive me? What am I willing to share? And our brain protects us. It is a protective measure to say like, oh yeah, you don't hate anyone. You're not that type of person. And when you can get past that layer of protection into the real stuff, the dark, dirty stuff, and it's like, oh no, you hate people. I'm like, oh, okay, all right, good to know. This is the version of yourself that you're not willing to look in the mirror. This is where healing happens. This is where you get stuff done. And I condone therapists. I think it's amazing. But the average therapist, it takes about a year and a half before you even have a relationship enough with them where your brain trusts them enough to even start getting into this deeper, darker stuff. If you can do breath work and get into that stuff immediately, right off the bat, my average client says this is like 10 years of therapy in one session. Like, I mean, it feels like it would take me 10 years to have just gotten to this stuff that I got to today. And what I love is it's all self-fulfilled. It's all self-propelled. I am not doing this for you. This is your work. You are just breathing. And in that breath, it allows your brain to shut off and for you to start feeling and healing from all of the stored emotions that we have. And so I became obsessed with it. I immediately said, I absolutely must get certified in this. Of course, the universe immediately provided me the perfect instructor, and I became certified in it. And it has been my favorite medicine. And so to me, breath work is the healing of your body, right? Of the stored emotions in your body. It's much more spiritual and emotional. Breath work is spiritual, emotional work. Kambo is physical. It is the body itself, keeping your body alive and safe. And breathwork is keeping you mentally and emotionally stable and safe. And so the combination of the two and the spiritual connection of them both is my blend of medicine that makes me feel like I have whole body, including your spiritual body, right? It's the emotional, spiritual, physical body are all encompassed in one with the two medicines together. So it's a beautiful modality. I'm so excited that you are taking this on, and you have also found a 3-part breathing technique that delivers that same method to people to help them get into those deep aspects of themselves, to shine the light. I say it shines the light on the deepest, darkest corners of your psyche. And a lot of stuff comes up that we just didn't even know existed in there. And you learn a lot about who you truly, truly are as a person.
I completely agree. And I find it interesting that you mentioned you expected to see more of the light with Aya, because I did as well, and I didn't fully get it from Aya. I got some wisdom and I saw some stuff, but I saw much more from breathwork, even in that session. And honestly, it was uncomfortable for me. I stepped away from it for a little bit because I saw so much that I wasn't ready to face, and it was challenging. So it wasn't until about 6 months later that I got into breathwork again. And
the type of breath work that you're doing now too, and that's the difference.
That's true.
The type of breath work that we did was holotropic, which is a beautiful type of breath work. However, it is completely self-guided, right? So if you're going into a deep, dark corner, there's no reassurance that you're okay. And like you said, the minute that you saw how dark it was, you said, I'm out of here. When you do these conscious connected breath work sessions, and I don't want to speak for you, but at least for mine, it's all guided, right? So I know when you're going into a dark corner, and I'm there with you. And I remind you, you are safe, you are held, I am here. Breathe, look, don't be afraid. Don't let the fear drive you away. Those moments that it gets really, really hard, I give them a punching bag. They punch, they scream, they yell, they get out the emotions that are there, and they feel completely safe to do it. I hug them, I squeeze them, I shake their bodies where they have tension. It's very, very involved in their body and in their psyche while they're going through the process, so that they can look, because that flashlight can be really scary. And I haven't had anybody turn away from it, right? So it gives them the opportunity to finally look, because what you realize is that when something looks really scary and you shine a flashlight on it, it ends up just being something. right? It doesn't drive you anymore. It's just a thing that you're like, oh, I see you. I see you, cobweb, and I'm just going to take this dust buster to you. So peace out. Getting to those parts of your psyche. So it's a beautiful, beautiful journey to go on.
No, definitely. And I agree. This type of breath work, it has its self-guidance, but it also has its facilitator guidance as well. Even like you mentioned in my sessions, notice a lot of times I'm even holding their feet, I'm holding their legs and reassuring them, reminding them they're not alone and they can walk through it. They can face the other side of this.
Yeah. You mentioned something really great too, where you said you were hoping to get a lot out of Aya and you felt like you got more out of the breath work. We both said that. And I just want to call out to the science behind that, just so people know who are kind of like, I want to do Aya, maybe I don't, and are nervous about the drug aspects of it and the body interactions, which was my fears, right? Is that breath work scientifically on the brain scan is equivalent to taking DMT. So your brain goes through the same process of letting go of the subconscious or of the conscious and diving deep, just like you do on DMT. So yes, you won't have the grandmother that comes through with Aya and that beautiful voice that comes through in that experience. However, as far as being able to let go and go deeper into yourself, that experience is the same without taking any substance. And so for anyone with substance history, anyone who has had a bad experience even with plant medicines before, or anyone who has health conditions or concerns, this is the most beautiful alternative that you can take, and you can do it safely, and then you can safely do it in your own home and continue to do the work, which is what's incredible about it too.
I completely agree. And that's one of the things I was so astounded at, honestly, because I had absolutely life-changing experiences from Aya, as well as psilocybin, as well as different other plant medicines. But knowing it's literally just breathing and you can do it anywhere, it's very safe compared to, not that Aya or psilocybin is not, but it's different, there's a different level of you're only breathing.
Yeah. And I mean, I have a whole family of individuals who have been in recovery from substances. So they can't touch any of those things, but they would love the experience. And for them, we go through breathwork journeys, and it's been really wonderful for them to still get an experience. We also have mental health. So same thing. Mental health is where people need it the most to see those dark corners of themselves, but that is the highest risk for any of these things: psilocybin, DMT, bufos, like all of them, San Pedro's. Those are the highest risk as anyone with psychiatric disorders. And so for breath work, it's safe. You're just breathing, right? We're just breathing. All you're doing is oxygenating your body. Nothing's going to go wrong with that.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. That's awesome. That's great. Okay.
Fun stuff going on, huh?
Definitely, we do. So I'm curious a little bit, want to switch tunes a little bit, but what has been the best decision you've made in your life thus far and why?
Oh my gosh. Wow. It's a big one. You didn't even let me like prepare for that one. I see how it is. The best decision in my life has been the hardest decision in my life. And it was completely putting myself first. It was the moment that I became the world's most selfish person you will ever meet. It was the best decision of my life and the hardest, because there is so much negative stigmatism towards being a selfish woman, right? For your own spare time, for your finances, for your sexuality. Like there's so much against being that woman, and especially as a mother, right? Aren't your kids supposed to come first before you? Like, how dare you put yourself first? it was a hard journey, but I knew it was the right journey because at the end of the day, I knew in order for my kids to be the best version of themselves, they need to see me be the absolute best version of myself. And that means setting difficult boundaries with people, cutting people out of my life, saying yes to the things that are aligning in my life and not questioning it, not questioning myself, not being down on myself, absolutely loving myself. There's a song, I forget who sings it, but it's I Love Me. So I play that all the time. You do love you, don't you? I'm like, I do. I do. And I teach them that, and I ask them, I say, who does mommy love the most? And most kids would be like, me. And they're like, you. I'm like, that's right. I love me the most. And who should you love the most? And they say me, as in themselves. And like, that's right. Because you should always love yourself first. And when you do that, the direction that it takes you is your life purpose. I've always been living a lot of what I felt like was my destiny, a career, a calling, right? I'm living my calling, I'm living my career, it's fun and this, but now it's my life purpose. And the moment that you get a glimpse of your life purpose, you can't go back. It's the place that we were meant to be. It's the place where everyone strives to be. And it starts with putting yourself first. And so if I could say, that's the best decision for me. But if I could tell anyone to make a decision for themselves, it would be that. Be so stinking selfish, please.
I love that. That's amazing. And I bet that definitely helps you show up better for your kids and for everybody else.
Yeah, when you need to just like shut off for a minute, right? And it's not the like, oh, but I have to be mommy, I have to do this. It's like, no, actually, I need to shut off. To be the best version of me, I need to shut off for a minute. I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that time for me. And I'm not going to feel guilty about the me time at all.
I love that. That's amazing. So I have one more question for you. And this is a question from my best friend. I had wanted to approach the podcast where it wasn't only questions from me, but a little bit from an outsider. So her question is, where do you hope to see yourself 3 years from now?
It's a beautiful question. So I am the person that when I would do interviews, people would say, like, what's your 10-year goal? What's your 20-year goal? Right? Like, I don't set any of those. I live today for today. But with that, of course, you still have to set some manifestation, right? Some creativity. You have to have a direction that you're going, if you will. So I think 3 years out is not too bad of a where we're going with that. My best friend, my soul sister, and we have a business, Mind, Body, and Practice, and we've been doing women's circles every month. And we hope to be hosting annual women's retreats, as well as our monthly women's circle. And my absolute goal is to be financially only doing MVP, right? So only doing the frog medicine, only doing breath work, only doing Reiki with children, working in that parameters and just fully living my life purpose of activating the most authentic version of people. I specialize in trauma recovery, and I see myself working mostly with that, right? Helping people through their traumas. And trauma is a broad term. So it's everything that you could possibly think of for yourself, right? Trauma to yourself or trauma from yourself. There's a lot that exists out there. And within the next 3 years, I can guarantee that you will see me just doing that across the board, helping activate the most authentic version of others and delivering my medicine, which is breathwork and frog and me. I'm the medicine too. So showing up for others, and I will continue to do that.
That's beautiful. I love that. Now, okay, I lied. Another question. Is there anything I did not ask you that you wished I would have? It's okay if not.
I think so. I mean, I think we covered a lot today, really. And I think hopefully people who listen to this get inspired and and find the medicine that's right for them and find their path and their purpose and continue along that journey. Maybe the one question you didn't ask is, when are we hanging out again? But we can do that. Fine.
You're adorable. Is there anything else you'd like to leave the listeners with before we end this podcast?
If anyone wants to have some microdosing of Kambo, or wants to learn more about breathwork, or has just questions about, different plant medicines that are out there, psilocybin, San Pedro, ayahuasca, and just wants some advice on that and to have their experience, feel free to find me. Happy to share my experience with them. There's so many beautiful practitioners of Kambo in all different areas. So wherever you live, there is someone. Take the time to recognize your health and find an alternative method to what we're typically doing. If I'll put a public service announcement out there, with New England and the amount of flooding that we have had, there is a massive amount of mold exposure. 40% of people in society do not have the antibodies to fight this mold. And what will happen is it will get stored in your cells. If you start to notice that you're having brain fog, ADHD-like symptoms, anxiety, depression, autoimmune disorders, hypersensitive to smells, sounds, and you're not yourself, you might be one of those 40%. And unfortunately, the healthcare system does not test for this. The majority of labs, you will go through all sorts of labs, blood work, urine samples, everything, CT scans, to be told that you have nothing wrong with you, or that you have an autoimmune disorder, when it could be mycotoxins. And those are hard to defeat, but Kambo is a way to help you get there. And it will only get worse. And I'm going to be doing hopefully a news story about this to help bring awareness to it. Super important. If you know anyone who is going through those symptoms, reach out to me. I can give them some great labs that will do the mycotoxin testing. I can give them some valuable resources on how to check their home, do some air quality tests, and figure out if what they're going through could be caused by something as quote unquote simple, even though it's hard to get rid of, mold, versus much more detailed or undiscovered things that we're thinking it could be. So I hope that that message gets to whoever needed to hear it, truly, and reach out to me.
Thank you so much. And I will leave all of Kristina's info in the show notes so you guys can connect with her directly. And thank you so much for being on Manders Mindset. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much to all of you listening to another episode of Manders Mindset. If you enjoyed the show, if you would like it, subscribe and share it with someone you think would benefit from this. And until next time, thanks, guys.